Hello and welcome to episode 8 of the Horn of Plenty podcast. Here you got Vapi, Chulo, and way over there you got Rico, Grande. How you doing, Rico?
Hey, I'm doing all right. Episode 8. We made it. We are the Ocho, just
We
like ESPN and dodgeball.
absolutely two more and then we hit double digits, man. I'm proud of us. We've kept it going this long. We got a nice little routine going on. We're gonna keep putting this content out, man. All right, so Rico Grande, anything new
Yeah.
with you, man? Have you been trying anything new? Yo, I just been put on to these seaweed snacks, trying to be on my little healthy health tip. They told me seaweed snacks was a good, nice little refreshing snack. They taste like air and fish oils. It is delicious.
Have you ever taken a fish oil capsule and just wanted it to be crunchy?
Fam, let me tell you something. I tried to take fish oil pills a couple of years ago. Those, as a kid, we had to break pills in half because for whatever reason I couldn't swallow it. I was just scared of it as a kid. Man,
Something you overcame in adult life.
no, not even, bro. Because let me tell you, I tried to take those fish oil pills, bro. Them joints is thick. Damn, joints is thicker than the sticker. Right? So then I tried to swallow one, bro. I just couldn't do it, man. So I just stopped right away. It got to the point where it was nasty. It's mad graphic, but the shit was just melting in my mouth. And I was like, nah, I'm not doing this.
Yeah. No, I've taken fish oil before. I haven't had quite the same problem. With getting them down, but
Well,
the
your
funny thing about
goblet
it,
is significantly larger.
yeah, yeah, and if you look, at supplementation, which is, we got a lot of things to talk about today.
Mm-hmm.
But even with the big pill, it's still a little bit under the recommended dosage.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, you took one, you need it two.
Yeah.
So no, seaweed good. Mixing it up. I can't say that I've been trying new foods.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying not to engorge myself
Mm-hmm.
on the foods I do eat. Lockdown pounds are real.
Right. You out there popping meatballs like they Tic Tacs, bro. That's what you're doing?
I haven't had meatballs in a long
No.
time, bro.
Rico Grande got a bucket that you supposed to put popcorn in, but it's popcorn chicken. He just eat that every day.
Dang, I wish. You know what I do?
What?
It is just going to sound probably even worse, but I'm telling you, it is a A1 top tier breakfast.
Tell me. Oh, I bet
So
this is gonna be the fattest thing I've heard all week for sure. He gonna be like, and then you dip it in lard, and it's crazy.
so first, you got to start with your cup of cafe bustelo.
Okay, absolutely.
It's just guaranteed. It's a staple. It's basically like waking up and having a cup of water. It's
Yes.
bustelo.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the company drink. So you go to a bakery, you get a sun dried tomato bagel.
Okay, not mad at it so far.
So you toast up the bagel, you put some cream cheese on it,
Okay.
and then you add some maple sausages into the bagel.
Okay.
So it's a sausage sandwich with the cream cheese and a cup of coffee. That is my morning breakfast.
Oh, bro, I thought you was gonna wild out. That's good. I used to have stuff like that all the time back in the day. I thought you was gonna be like, yo, you go to the bakery, right? And so you gotta get the sun dried tomato bagel, and then you gotta go to the nearest farmer's market and you gotta buy a dozen fresh eggs, no abuse, right? Straight out the chicken. And then what you do is that you crack all 12 of them at the same time. You make an omelet, right? You fold it 10 different ways and you put it in between both of the bagels. Then you deep fry the joint. And then as garnish, you just put cheddar cheese on the joint and boom. That's my breakfast every day. I feel like, bro, your heart is yelling for help every day, every morning.
No, I keep it simple. That was the whether I had to wake up early for to go to work or to go to the gym, it's something that I could make quick, eat it, and be on the go.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's a filling breakfast. I keep breakfast higher calories.
Have you ever had steak and eggs for breakfast?
Oh, multiple times.
When was the last time you had steak and eggs for breakfast? I think that's a ridiculous breakfast, by the way.
It has been over a year. Because
That's insane.
the last time I had it, I do remember being at a restaurant and having it, like going out for breakfast.
Yeah, that looks good.
And
I mean, look at the screen. You got little potatoes on the side, your steak and your eggs. That looks good, bro. But that's lunch. That ain't breakfast. That's brunch. I'll give you brunch.
no, you get the eggs with the runny yolk and you crack it on the steak and then you mix it with the potatoes.
Bro, for breakfast?
Then you wash it down with coffee.
Nah, that's insane, bro. I can't. You can't be productive after that. You can't wake
Yeah, you
up at
can.
7 a.m. and have that and then be ready for your Monday morning meeting. You can't. That's insane.
No, you eat that like at 6. You work.
A.M.?
Yeah.
Bro, I'm asleep. Ain't nobody trying to wake up at 6 with some steak and eggs to then take an hour nap to then go to work.
No, my summer routine, because last summer I was working 8 to 4 like many adults. I wake up at 4:15. I work out from 5 to 7, come back, shower, get ready, and go to work. Big breakfast. That's why I grew.
Bro, I don't. To me, this is one of the reasons that people are not in the best health is because people out here eating what I believe are portions for lunch and dinner for breakfast, and it is insane. I like if you're gonna go work out prior and burn it most of it off and stuff, whatever. But imagine eating steak and eggs and potatoes for breakfast, and then like a sandwich for lunch. And then dinner time, you got mashed potatoes and asparagus and fried chicken, and then you just go to sleep. That's insane. That's mad food.
It all depends on your calorie goals.
No, it doesn't, bro. Because if you ain't taking all these calories, typically people who care about that are making sure they have enough to do stuff you be doing. Like, yo, I'm trying to deadlift 350 pounds. I need to consume 5,000 calories. But I'm talking about these are just everyday people who just be like, yo, wake up, go to work, come back. That's it.
Oh yeah, you could probably go down to 3 pieces of steak, half of the potatoes, and still 2 eggs.
Crazy, bro.
You really got to eat for where you want to be at.
I guess. So where you want to start? We're going to talk about health today. Where you want to start?
You want to start to these people's responses to this outbreak?
Let's talk about it. Who's these people though? Like the doctors, the politicians, or what you want? The regular people.
All of them.
All of them. Oh man, I don't even know where to start. Do you have a starting point?
I mean, do you want to start with El Presidente?
Bro, I want to talk about Nancy Pelosi, honestly. So,
all right, go ahead.
I'm gonna see if I can find this clip of Nancy Pelosi throwing wild shade at President Trump. So, Rico Grande, are you familiar with the debate surrounding hydrochloroquine? I believe that's how you pronounce it.
Hydroxychloroquine, yes.
Okay. Hydroxychloroquine. Okay. So, there are a bunch of people. Excuse me, I shouldn't say a bunch of people. A bunch of researchers and people who have been doing their time, right, when they speak, you listen, because they've been in the game for 20 plus years. They doing original research and they know what's good and what's not. And a bunch of them said that hydroxychloroquine, right, is only beneficial in basically critical statuses. There's only a couple of situations where you should use that. That's nowhere near anything that the vaccine needs to be to get rid of corona, right? So
yeah, it's a medicine that's used for malaria.
There you go, right?
So it's not designed to combat the coronavirus,
right? In very rare instances, can you use it? To help people that have the coronavirus? Well, Trump, a couple of weeks ago, was scrambling and he was just trying to find any reason anything that he could say to the American people to ease the minds of the people that his constituency, which allegedly is all of us, but that's not the case, obviously. And so he said, "Oh, we got this beautiful thing. You know how Trump talk. Oh, it's good. It's the best. We got hydroxychloroquine. It's amazing. The thing that this could do is amazing." Dr. Fauci came in right after. He was like, "Actually, let me tell you something. This is not as hype as he's making it seem." That's why he got fired. That's a whole other conversation in there. But Nancy Pelosi got in her bag because she's done. She's done with Trump at this point here. Let's play this clip.
As far as the president is concerned, he's our president, and I would rather he not be taking something that has not been approved by the scientists, especially in his age group and in his, shall we say, weight group, what is morbidly obese, they say.
Fam! Look, Nancy Pelosi is done with Donald J. Trump. She is looking for any reason to shade him, and I'm here for it. The thing is that she wasn't even being rude, right? Because when you go, that's a term. That's a medical term, morbidly obese. Like, if you go to the doctor and you are morbidly obese by whatever the standard is, right? That's what they're going to tell you. You fit under this category. So that's hilarious to me. How do you feel about it?
It's funny in the moment. The term morbidly obese is, I don't want to say misleading, but it could be thrown off depending on the health care measures that you're looking at. So you can look at it two ways. You can look at it as total body fat percentage. Mm-hmm. So you look at, someone that weighs 200 pounds, mm-hmm. and you look at all of the mass that's on their body. And if the majority of that mass is coming from fat, you can say, okay, this is a morbidly obese person given their height, etc. Mm-hmm. Now, one way that's used to determine if someone is obese, morbidly obese, regular weight, underweight, etc., is the use of BMI. Mm-hmm. And BMI was never designed to do this. In the way that it's actually designed, you could bring it up on the website there, so people can see the formula for it. Mm-hmm. Is I believe it's weight divided by your height in meters square.
Yeah, so right here you would have your height and then your weight, and then it computes your BMI, and then it puts you into these BMI categories, which is underweight, normal weight, overweight, or obesity.
All right, so type in BMI formula.
Okay.
So I'll give you, I think it's weight divided by meters squared, something like that. But basically, it'll give you a number. Yeah, there you go. So BMI is your mass in kilograms divided by your height squared in meters. Again, the entire world minus the U.S. is on the metric system.
Yes.
So that that formula will carry you throughout the world. But what it doesn't take into consideration is the composition of any of that mass. So The Rock, who has a very low body fat percentage, would be considered morbidly obese.
Right.
Just looking at BMI scale. Mm-hmm. He's clearly not obese because he has a high percentage of lean muscle mass and a very low percentage of fatty mass. Mm-hmm. So, we don't get presidents' body fat percentage values given to us. We just get a height and a weight, so we would get a BMI number. Mm-hmm. Now, the president isn't in the pinnacle of health. He's not a bodybuilder. He's not working out. He's not an athlete.
He would tell you otherwise.
Yeah, he might say otherwise, but it's a fair assumption to say that the majority of his body mass is contributed by fat. Mm-hmm. So, he is obese in that sense, but just as a general statement, you could look at athletes, and almost all the athletes are going to present as obese if you're just using BMI.
Right.
So BMI as a indicator of health isn't always the best.
So what should people be using?
I think body fat percentage is a much better way to look at obesity rates, because then what it does is it looks at your total composition and says, okay, this percentage is fat.
Mm-hmm.
And then, if we have measures such as like lean mass composition, that's generally kind of telling us how much of us is, like muscle. So those would be one I prefer much more than BMI. I don't think BMI is the best.
I'm sorry, keep going.
But what she was trying to get at, obviously, is that someone that is overweight and that weight is attributed to fat, it does increase the risk factors associated with diseases.
Right.
So that is, something to look at. Is not, if someone is overweight, they just don't die because they have more mass on them. They die because that extra weight contributes and increases the risk of other factors that will lead to a death.
Gotcha. Did you see that there is a lot of progress when it comes to making a vaccine for COVID-19?
I read some news that there was a preliminary test done with some antibodies, and it showed to be promising.
Yes.
But people need to realize that the timeline for a vaccine versus the timeline for, a couple initial positive results are so different from each other.
Right.
That, it could be great news, but it doesn't mean that a massively produced vaccine is anywhere near being made.
Right. So Moderna is the company right now that is stating that they have made a lot of progress in the coronavirus vaccine. Their CEO currently, as of a couple of days ago, says that the vaccine could be ready by the end of the year. That's still about 5 months away if everything goes according to plan. And then you got to look at it from the business standpoint. That's not including production. This time, like the coronavirus vaccine being ready means a singular proven vaccine that works against COVID-19. That timetable does not include manufacturing at a global scale, where this vaccine is not just for the country, right? And then you have to talk about how is this going to work? Are they going to put price points on there? Are they going to put high price points? Is this such a global pandemic that people are going to put aside the greed and the profiteering to make sure that people stop dying? I don't know. That's going to add easily another 6 months.
Yeah, in terms of something being done that fast, I can't say that it's going to make sense to me that something is going to be ready from where we are now to, okay, everyone gets a Christmas present of a vaccine.
Right.
I don't quite see it. And that's just because of the way any kind of scientific advancement will work. So we know there's a virus.
Yes.
And when you're creating a vaccine, you have to, find the genes and the thing within the virus in a way that people are going to be safe from it. So let's say I'm working in my lab. I'm a scientist. I'm coming up with a vaccine. I think I have something that's going to work. And I want to go to the testing phase.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of steps in the testing phase to make sure, before, okay, I'm witnessing something in a lab versus this is going to be my widespread release.
Right. So here we go. Let's follow along to this article, because I think that this hits all the points that you're going to make, because there is a lot of steps. So for people following along on YouTube, on the screen you'll see the article that I pulled up that says the steps through making a coronavirus vaccine, and that's applicable for other vaccines as well. Obviously, for people listening through streaming podcast platforms, just to let you know, we have a YouTube channel. You can subscribe there at the Horn of Plenty Pod, and then you'll be able to follow along with us on the screen. And so we typically have the articles that we're referencing. We fact check ourselves on the screen. Typically just have some funny images about what we're talking about there. So make sure you go there and subscribe at the Horn of Plenty Pod. But going along, Rico Grande was talking about just basic steps that need to be done. And so that's why he believes it won't be done at the pace of like 5 months from now, which I agree with him. And so the first step that he already talked about was the basic understanding of the virus. Before you do anything, you have to understand what the virus does. Do you want to add anything to step 1 before we move to step 2?
No, I mean, you have to know what you're working with. So viruses have different, shapes and forms. So this one obviously has the corona shape that is telling us something about the structure of the virus. Mm-hmm. But you have to realize, what it is you're working with before you could even get to work on anything else.
Right. And so number 2 is that you start working on the vaccine. And so there's categories of vaccines. And so you need to get a sample of the actual virus and put them into these different vaccine categories and see what the vaccine is doing. Is the vaccine just dying right away? Is it fighting the virus? And I'm saying it in layman's terms because I am one. Like, Rico Grande can speak to all the educated people. That's what he's here for. I'm here to simplify it for me and everybody else who needs it to be simplified, right? So you gotta see if the vaccine is just dying off, or if it's combating the virus and then dying like a day later, or if it's withstanding it. Does it purely eliminate it, or is there still 10% of the virus left with the vaccine? You gotta look at antibodies. Now, Rico Grande, say it one time for the smart folk who could understand.
Say what now?
No, so say what I said, but smarter.
So, well, let me kind of back up here and kind of give just a very quick overview of what a vaccine is and how it works. So very basically, a vaccine is you would take a virus, a dead part of the virus, and then you would put it in a person. And what happens is the body recognizes this invader, right? The immune system fights against foreign elements in the body. And from this dead version of the virus, it creates the antibodies needed to combat the real thing. So then now when the real thing comes, we now have a defense for it that we didn't have before. Does that make any sense to you?
Yes, no, it does. I didn't know if you wanted to keep, you gave the background, but I want, was my explanation of the different things that could happen when you pit against a virus and a vaccine together. Is that accurate?
So there's a couple of things that could happen. Mm-hmm. So the body takes a while to develop this defense response to the vaccine that it's introduced to. Mm-hmm. So let's say that you were to contract a virus on a Monday and get the vaccine on a Wednesday, or maybe even get the vaccine on a Wednesday and then get the virus on a later date. Mm-hmm. If your body doesn't have the adequate time frame to develop these antibodies, you can still get the virus even if you have the vaccine. Mm-hmm. So that's one. The second thing is that viruses mutate and they change their strand, and they deform the shape. It changes, the coding changes. So what we may have had a good vaccine for before, like the flu shot, another season may not be effective because it's now mutated into something different, and now you have to come up with a vaccine for a variant strain. Mm-hmm. So this happens every year when you get the flu shot. Doctors and scientists try to predict which strains of the flu are going to be prevalent in that season. And then that's what they tailor that year's flu shot for. So one year, if they hit it on the head, it could be great, and then there could be other years where they misjudge which strains are going to be out there, and even though you have the flu shot, you still get sick because you got hit with a mutant version of the virus.
Gotcha.
So there could be different things there that are coming into play. Also, with the vaccine and everything that's happening, we don't have any kind of long-term studies. We wouldn't know if it's safe for pregnant women.
Right.
Different groups, like, okay, this vaccine might help against coronavirus, but it may interact in the body of people who have diabetes or something else in a different kind of way that now there's unintended side effects.
Gotcha.
There's no kind of knowledge on any of these things to put out as, warnings or side effect risks without a long-term study. So, there could be something out by December. It'd be like the most beta version of a software program.
Right. So we're already looking just between the first two steps, right? The first step, again, was basic understanding of the virus and vaccine candidates, narrowing that down. You're looking at, even if it's expedited, like 3 to 4 months, right?
Yeah, I mean, which the time frame of most vaccines is on the scale of 3 to 5 years.
Right.
So to have something developed essentially from February to December is unheard of.
Right. So again, you're looking at 3 to 4 months just for the first two steps. Then you have step 3, which is the preclinical testing. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so this would be like animal testing. You have, anytime you're going to do a research like this and you're working, let's say, in a university or another lab system, you're going to be working with called internal review board.
Mm-hmm.
You need this even if you're in a sociology department and you want to do like a survey.
Right.
You got to get that approvals, right? So if you're working on humans, a lot of times before it gets to humans, it's tested on animals. A lot of times that's a rat.
Mm-hmm.
So you say, okay, well, we're going to give all these rats the coronavirus. And then in there, you have to actually make sure that animals could carry the disease the same way that a human can.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are some animals that could carry this disease the same way, and there's some animals who do not contract the disease the same way. So now we have another variable of, we want to do animal testing because we want to make sure that people are safe, but we need to make sure that this thing presents in animals the same way it's going to present in a human, to make sure that our cure is worth it. So that's the next step. Is, okay, we're not going to do it with people. We're going to do it with these animals, and then we're going to, get our data, make our conclusions, and then try to move on into the next stage.
All right, which is clinical trials, testing it on humans.
So now you get to working with people, and there's a lot of different kinds of ways to design an experiment like this. You can have a clinical trial where all the recipients know that they are getting a trial version of the vaccine. You can also have what's called a double-blind study, where the participants, they don't know if they're getting the vaccine or a placebo, and then sometimes the researchers don't know as well. And then you look at the groups to say, oh, this one was given a placebo, this one was given the real thing. Are we seeing any differences in response rate to what we gave out? Mm-hmm. So that's the next step, to make sure that, okay, this is going to be good. We gave it to the control group. The control group would be a group that doesn't receive the vaccine at all, but does have coronavirus, and then we look at them compared to the group that did get the vaccine. And if the vaccine group shows overwhelming positive response, then you move on to production.
No, actually, before that is the approvals.
Well, yeah, they have to get all approved. So this would be like your FDA.
Yeah.
They have to sign off on it. and then from there we say, okay, we're gonna make this thing and market it, sell it, get it to doctors, hospitals, etc.
See, and then I want to talk about, like, I want to get your view on this. So then we get to probably, in my opinion, one of the most ethical part of all of the stages. I mean, people can talk about the testing on humans and the animals, but what I am going to be paying attention to heavily once the production stage is there is whether they license the vaccine or they don't license it, or license it and just give it give the, I'll call it, recipe, give the vaccine recipe to the people all around the world. Are they going to do so or not? I mean, you have your corporate interests and then you have your more humanitarian interests. I haven't lived through this quite yet, so I'm unsure what is common. Like when a country finds the vaccine for something that is going on a global scale, what is common practice? Is common practice to just release the recipe to the whole world, or is it, hey, no, we found it first, all right, you gotta pay up. We ain't gonna tell you. We're not gonna share the research. We're just gonna offer it to you. Maybe I'll give you 5% off. Maybe for every 1,000,000 units that you buy, I'll give you get a little BOGO sale going on. You know what I'm saying? So, what are your thoughts on that?
For something that's as widespread as this, I mean, the most ethical decision would just to make it open source. Mm-hmm. Which is more of a, like in computer terms, is like free for everyone, right. Free access. I would feel that, for something that's going to have widespread global effect and shut down, once you find the cure, you can't sell it. Like, it just has to be there for me. Okay. Now, whether or not, they choose to monetize it, that's their own ethical decision. But if you're going to shut down the country, you need to provide the means to open it up to everyone for free.
Okay. You see, and I'll provide the other argument though. This needs, in my opinion, like ethically, this needs to be released globally. It needs to be, to use Rico Grande's term, open source. But the other side is this is my intellectual property. My brain, my ability to understand complex viruses and the effects of plausible vaccines that could destroy said virus, I should be rewarded. I don't want no medal. I don't want dinero. Give me monies, please. Right? And so when especially if you're a part of the United States, we operate on a really capitalistic mindset most of the time. I think people could make a strong case that pay up. I don't think it's really realistic for people to go, I'm not giving you my intellectual property, but I'll give you the vaccine, but I'll even give it to you just at the cost that it cost to make it. Like, there is not going to be a profit. You pay for shipping, and I send it to you. Like, there's still a lot of money that goes into that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the cost of not having it far exceeds the cost of just distributing it.
How do you reward the person who found the vaccine? Again, I gotta think. This is the way I'm thinking about it. I gotta think that the person that has the most capitalistic mindset ever found the cure for the virus, right? They're gonna want some sort of compensation. They don't care that they get 1 million likes on Twitter for finding it. They want that dinero.
So, I mean, let's say that the scientist that discovers it is a researcher at a pharmaceutical company. Mm-hmm.
Which they don't even own it at that point. The pharmaceutical company owns it.
Right. So, but the company is within its full capacity to give that person the biggest bonus that will let them be set. Mm-hmm. They could adjust their pay or whatever in the future. But to counter that, I kind of think of two different things that could happen. And one is a little absurd, but it is the logical end of what would happen here. So if someone is going to want money for the cure and they're going to be ultra capitalistic, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's to stop an individual from creating a virus and an antidote at the same time, releasing the virus into the world, and then holding on to the vaccine and then selling it for billions of dollars?
Bro, you just made one of Marvel's villains right here, right now. You just made a whole arc.
And then the second thing, and much more likely to happen, is that countries and stuff would buy the vaccine. So let's say they did start selling it. Now, once it's sold and other scientists have their hands on it, they will be able to do a chemical analysis to figure out what's in the vaccine.
They could sue though.
And
actually, I don't know if.
But this is a big problem, or this is actually what happened in countries like Brazil. So Brazil was getting medicine, where they were figuring out the formulas for different kinds of medicines. They were ignoring the patent laws and then producing cheap medicine for citizens.
Right.
So if it's something like a vaccine going on and you're going to serve me with a lawsuit and I have the vaccine, I was like, I worry about the health of my people in my country more than this lawsuit. And good luck sending police to come to take me to a U.S. Court to sue me for intellectual property violation.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the most likely thing. It's like, okay, someone would eventually get their hands on the vaccine and then just replicate it and then mass produce it on their own.
What's your view on countries holding on to, again, their intellectual property when it comes to information based off their research on COVID-19? So I've been reading a lot that China purposely is withholding a lot of information that they have on the virus, and other countries as well. China's just the first one that I thought about. What are your thoughts on that?
For something like a virus, to me, it's just a disservice to all the people who are not in power to have any kind of say so in those decisions. The virus is indiscriminate in terms of who it infects. It doesn't matter if you're rich, you're poor, Chinese, American, Italian, Japanese, etc. Right? There's no kind of differentiation there. So if there's going to be a cure, understanding this I would imagine, be one of the few times where the international scientific community needs to work together.
I mean, I think, yeah, I agree with you, and I think that leadership and standing with the country matters as well, because when you have a president that who is, again, the leader of the country that you live in, they're a representative, and they're consistently bashing your country for whatever reason, I think it does make it harder for some people to want to join in and help each other out, as sad as that sounds.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in a group project, so we'll look at this corona thing like a group project with all the different leaders of the world. And one person in the group doesn't really get along. At the end of the day, when it's time to distribute the credit, you're not going to want them to get much. I understand, but to me, it's just this is an issue that supersedes any kind of bad feelings there may be for one person.
All right. Well, hey, thank you for your contribution here. It's always good to hear just because you have the education to talk about this in a way more educated way than I could ever. Let's talk about how I want to hear. We haven't talked about this, honestly. What are your views on schools possibly opening up in August, if not September? Do you think it's realistic? Do you think it's a smart move? I have some really strong opinions on it, but I want to hear your thoughts first.
I would be very interesting as to the logistics of how this would happen. So some places like Germany have actually started very limited reopening of schools. And some of the things that they've done has been like dramatically reduced class sizes
Mm-hmm.
and a rotating shift of when the grades come in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just to stop all of the clutter and stuff that would happen in the hallway. Um, like if you just look at any kind of public school in the United States, a high school, when the bell rings, I mean the hallways are flooded with students. Sometimes you can't even get 6 inches of space, let alone 6 feet.
Right.
Um, I think about things that students actually like. Football games, sports rallies, basketball games. Being a fan and everyone is standing elbow to elbow cheering. Um, Sporting events where you're traveling to different cities, or you have an away game at this place or that place. There's a lot of movement, a lot of body fluids being exchanged just in terms of sweat. If you're touching a ball, your sweat
Mm-hmm.
is just travel between, who knows how many people by the end of the game that the ball has come in contact with. So there's certain elements of academic life that I'm not sure how you get there in August. I think there could be, definitely more advancements in this tele education where, teachers are, working via like Zoom classroom and different things like that. But I don't think that the return to normalcy is going to be able to happen that fast.
So, what are some? If you could wave a wand today, what are some solutions that you would implement if you wanted schools to open up in the fall?
Mm.
Or just name me one. What do you think is single handedly the biggest thing?
If I for school like to physically open, like they have to be in the building.
No, no, bro. That's what I'm saying. Like they don't have to be in the building. What do you think to continue? Because now there's also a conversation on whether like the fall is just a dud period and everybody come back in the spring, everybody's summer vacation to get extended. Like doing a purely online curriculum is there. I mean, you would have to handle with the challenges of that, right? There are a lot of people in low socioeconomic neighborhoods that don't have internet access or very good internet access. You have people who live in the middle of nowhere in the woods that don't have the best internet access, if any, no reception, if any. So there's going to be issues regardless of what anybody picks, right? So having a full online curriculum is on the table if that's what you would want to do.
I think it'd be the most effective thing until we can figure out how to get more people in there. You could have Mondays, a very limited schedule where you have a whole high school building and now you're on a rotation of freshmen on a Monday, sophomores on a Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're spread apart in the classrooms because now you're taking you're using the whole building for one grade instead of four.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of doing a mix of in person and online.
Mm-hmm.
um you know you could try. Once the bell rings and the kids are in the hallway, you're not, there's nothing in the world that anyone is going to tell me that's going to stop teenagers from congregating.
Right.
Like there's going to be kids making out somewhere in the stairwell.
Right.
Like you can't stop it.
Let me give you well hold on, finish your thought and then I want to give you my view.
No, I was going to say, like, I mean, there's a lot of half measures you could take, but since it spreads the way it does, and there really doesn't seem any kind of 100% safe way to do it, it's almost like, stay at home and do 100% online, or just throw the, risk it all and have them come back.
Right. I have very strong views on this. I do not think there should be physical classes, whether it be colleges or public schools, middle schools, high schools, elementary schools. Right away, I will acknowledge that yes, that is a huge issue for a lot of different reasons. You have parents who need to go to work. Where are your kids? Right. There are a lot of students that actually rely on on the food, the free food that is offered in public schools for them to get by. I acknowledge all of these issues that exist. However, this is unlike anything. People are gonna, well, we've seen the Great Plague of the 1600s. Shut up. In recent memory, this is insane. Like, this is such a huge issue, and we need to respond accordingly, and all of us are responsible for making smart decisions. There's a lot of selfish people, and I've seen a lot of selfish actions during this time. And truthfully, in my opinion, they are disgusting. I don't think people are understanding the severity of this issue. And I think it would be a huge mistake to open up the schools. I read this really great article that broke it down into some categories. I don't have it right now, but let me tell you the rationale for it. It was an opinion piece by a doctor somewhere. And they said, simply put, these are the reasons why they should not open up. 1, we don't have a vaccine. Why would you have people in close proximity to each other when there is not a vaccine, when the virus is not slowing down? And scientists have already said, yes, historically viruses can mutate and become stronger. And so why would you continuously feed this virus and continuously let it spread? It may make our jobs harder long term, because the longer the virus lives, the faster it mutates, and the harder it is to find a vaccine. Okay. The other reason is the healthcare system. The healthcare system, speaking in the United States, does not work for absolutely everybody. Okay. This is one of the reasons that they are incentivizing people to stay home with these checks. The checks are an incentive for you to stay home. And that's what some people don't understand. And another reason that they're doing it is because, the primary reason that they're doing it is because this country cannot afford for an overwhelming amount of people in communities to be hospitalized. Not just because of the lack of spaces that exist in hospitals for such a calamity like this one, but because the dollar signs attached to it. Nobody wants to pay for your health care. Nobody wants to pay for the vaccine that's going to help make you feel better. And now times that 100,000. Nobody wants to do that. Another reason, testing is still not happening the way that it's supposed to happen. Whatever death toll you see, however many tests your county is saying that they are reporting, that is not an accurate number. There is way more. And there are way more people who are not being tested. And just because they don't feel the symptoms or they just have one of the symptoms doesn't mean that they don't have the virus. They may have it and they are not part of that number. And so because there is a lack of testing, you don't know how many people have it. Multiply whatever they say your county has or a state has, multiply that by 2. That's how many people Vapi Chulo thinks actually has the coronavirus.
Yeah, I've seen stories of people who, have gone to the doctor's office with symptoms, but there's simply no test. So they say, hey, we think you probably have it. You should isolate yourself for a couple of weeks and not doing anything, but we can't tell you for sure. So those people don't get counted, but they have it. The doctors know they have it, but they can't. There's no real validation there. So the numbers, for everything, for the world, the country, not only cases but deaths is severely underrated right now.
Bro, you want to hear a scary thing? Yes, again, going to just emphasizing that just because you don't feel it doesn't mean you don't have it. Think about just think about a college, bro. If you haven't been to college, you've seen it in the movies or TV shows. Or you visited somebody who lives in a residence hall. Bro, them joints is stuffy. Everybody know, and sometimes people don't have the best intentions or have the best cleanliness habits. You got your HVAC system, and yes, the disease can spread that way. By the way, it has to be concentrated a lot. I'm not going to over-exaggerate, but that is a reality. Imagine eating in those dining halls. Bro, I'm not going to any buffet for 2 years. That is crazy. And then you know what? And you're giving people an excuse to conglomerate. If I am in college and I'm a first year, I don't care that some students, right? Because I'm not assuming that all first years will be irresponsible. But if I am trying to get in with some people, right? Somebody's inviting me to a party. I'm not thinking about COVID-19. I'm going to say, oh, this has been going on for 7 months now at this point. Everything has fizzled. I'm going to go. Listen, there was an article. Oh, man, there's an article I read last week. Over there, it was either China or Japan. There was this one person that went to like 6 nightclubs. That he got 25 people infected, and they were able to trace it back to him. That's insane that one person was able to get 25 people infected. That's just nightclubs. Think about a college campus. Then that you have just made your college campus and the community outside of it a quarantine zone forever until this vaccine exists. Yeah. That's insane. People need to think about the worst case scenario and make sacrifices now so that the sacrifices later on aren't as severe.
No, I agree 100%. I mean, it's just, mind-boggling. I just think about, football games. Like you look at the stadiums full of people, all these people going to the bathroom, getting concessions, drinking beer, just interacting with everyone, just squeezed together. Like I couldn't imagine. If we were to open up at full capacity now, within, a week, there would be millions of corona cases virus reports.
And the scary
and it's already
thing,
happening.
That's what I'm saying. The scary thing is that it seems like that's what's happening or what's going on.
Yeah, if you look at all the states that have gone to, full reopening or even partial reopening measures, like Texas, Georgia, they're reporting these big increases in cases, several times higher what the rate of increase was when they were on lockdown. So they all opened without meeting the federal guidelines. It's funny, is like, the president on one hand is saying everyone open, and then yet the federal guideline says, well, you can't open until you've had noticeable decline for a long period of time. Right. And not one state that opened had long decline for that period of time before they opened up. But now people, again, infected left and right. So what are you going to do?
Listen, what's going to be really telling to me is Memorial Day weekend, right around the corner. We've seen, the people congregating at the beaches and stuff such as that. That is going to tell me everything I need to know about how everything is going to happen moving forward. That's going to tell me how the 4th of July is going to operate. That's going to reinforce to me that there are going to be way too many people who are not taking serious steps towards containing the virus. And so that will have way greater negative impact when it comes to the possible, even the conversation of reopening the country. The people are proving themselves not to be responsible, and that's going to be, I don't want to say the end, but that's going to, it's going to be really hard for people to open things up when they can't trust some of the American people to make sacrifices. And, man, I think I'm done. I've been freestyling for a while now, man. I hope that this vaccine is actually able to defeat the virus, and that we can see. I think like 4 weeks ago, the episode exists, but I said probably not until November or December. I think that's how long it's gonna last. I still think that that's the month or the 2 months to look at. And I'm hoping that the vaccine makes, again, a lot more progress so we could get to that point.
Same, hopefully.
All right, Rico, talk to me about something, man. I'm here, man. They got me out here preaching. Oh, in positive news, in positive news, okay, so have you seen some of these clips are funny, but again, they're serious, and so I laugh, and then I'm like, yo, relax, and then I laugh again. So have you seen the clips about, like, these pastors, saying, like, these churches are not going to close? Typically, they're pastors that have the mega churches,
Yeah.
and so they're out here making songs. There was the one that went viral was the pastor that was like, what was it? I'm gonna have to pull it up, but he basically
he breathes it away, like he blew it away.
Yeah, he was like, Corona, go. And I'm just gonna type coronavirus preacher, and I bet you it's the first thing that I find. It's gonna take me a while, but there's a pastor that said, yo, nah, I'm not going to listen to these guidelines. My church is gonna stay open, and that pastor died like 2 weeks later. No over exaggeration, and I'm not saying good. Like I don't celebrate anybody's death unless listen, we're not even gonna go there, because in my mentality is that there are gonna be people who are sad regardless of the person who dies. So I don't celebrate death like that. But yeah. I just think it's super ironic how this individual didn't take something very seriously that they should have taken very seriously, and they passed. But there have been. So have you seen these clips?
I've seen some. Like I saw the one where they made like a dance remix out of it. Out of what he was saying.
Oh, I found it. Oh boy, I found it.
Okay.
Let me full screen this one time. So this is one of the funny ones.
I say Corona be gonna.
Hey, Corona be gonna.
Corona be gonna. Corona be gonna. I'm looking at
I have not seen this one.
All over the world, you can't find no Purell.
You can't find no Purell.
Can't get no sanitizer.
Can't get no sanitizer.
Find no TP.
Hey, no toilet paper. But do you hear them harmonizing in the back of their rewind?
No TP. Oh, Lord help me, can't get no TP.
But look at him dancing too.
Hey, don't want to be around.
He's dancing like he can't find it.
Bro, so like there were a bunch of these, and I'm gonna find one more really funny one. There was one where homeboy.
I think his name is Copeland.
Copeland? All right, let's see. Pastor. Let me see if I can find him.
I want to say that was his name, and then Corona song.
I feel like it was so funny that I liked the video on my phone or something. But anyways, the reason I bring this up is because there was a pastor. The video came out just like yesterday or 2 days ago, where he was doing an online sermon, and he was like, let me tell you something, I am not opening up my church, and I'm not over exaggerating. He said something along these lines. He said, I'll be sleeping, and the only time I'm gonna even think about opening the church is that if in my dreams Jesus pop up in my dreams and he smack me silly, and he tell me, you better open that church tomorrow. You better open that church on Sunday morning. Until then, this church will open its doors when the Target down the corner opens its doors. When
the Target been open.
Because they sell food, so never mind. That was a bad example. When the Best Buy around the corner opened up its doors, when Target goes back to having extended hours, when the schools are letting kids go back, that is the only time I will decide to open up the doors to this church again, unless Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, goes into my dreams, smacks me not once, not twice, 3 times. And then I'll think about it. I'll probably do it because that's Jesus. Bro, anyways, I like that. I like that energy. Obviously, religion is really important to a lot of people. But it's about sacrifice. This is not anything to laugh at. This is not anything to take lightly. And so I appreciated that pastor going on the live sermon and saying, hey, I've been hearing a lot of y'all been pestering me to open up church so then y'all could worship. But let me tell you something. This is just the building. This is what he said too. He said this is just the building. You can thank God in the comfort of your home. You got yourself a Bible. We give them out for free. If you don't have a Bible, let me know.
Go to the internet.
I'll go to the internet, download the free Bible app, right? If you're a little bit on the older side and you don't know how to operate your iPhone, let me know. I'll deliver a Bible to you. But just because we are not in the building to worship doesn't mean that you are any less of a servant to your God. And bro, I was like, I love this, man. I like it.
Yeah. I can't imagine that, if you're loving your neighbor, as people of faith are called to do, that you're gonna want them to be sick.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. There's a lot of people out there that, want to skirt the rules. And hey, the one guy died. I'm not gonna. I'm laughing. I'm not laughing at the situation.
No, I know.
It's like, well, life happens. I don't know.
I'm trying to find that remix now, bro. That remix was funny. I'm gonna pull it up.
Oh, Corona.
Okay, so it's the same pastor, right? And so basically what he's saying is like, what we're not gonna do is you're not gonna clown me for my dance moves, right? So here this was his response. Hey. Bro, get this man to the Jabberwockies, bro. King Just, do you need a recruit? Hey. Hey. Bro, tell me you don't like that remix. Tell me you don't like that remix, bro.
I like how he put in the visual effects.
Bro, you know that wasn't him. You know that was his son. That was his 14-year-old son that made the remix and the little animations on it.
They put the little I'm gonna push this away.
Yeah, bro. When he dropped the cane, I was like, oh, he was a smooth criminal back in the day.
Yeah, too much.
But yeah, man. All right, what you want to talk about?
I think we covered a lot. There's a whole lot more about health. That we could cover. In another time, but. In terms of Corona Bigona.
Yeah. I hope Corona Bigona roll soon, man.
I think we might have to be going for now.
Yo, stay in your house, yo. Stay in your house. One of these days, we're going to have an extended... I don't know, we had the conversation last week, but we're going to have an extended conversation about how brick and mortar workplaces are going to go down 20-something% because of this virus.
Hey, strip clubs became OnlyFans.
Yo, did you see that there was a strip club in Missouri or Minnesota or something that is doing online strip clubs now?
No, I saw one that was like a drive-by.
Oh, that's insane. That is insane.
They were all outside, and you could tip them from a distance.
That is insane, man. But
they're probably Portland. A lot of stuff happens in Portland.
Yo, do you know Portland is home? I don't know if it's in Portland, but I know it's in Oregon. You know that state has the one and only vegan strip club in the country?
If it's anywhere, I would say it's Portland.
Yeah, so I learned that a week ago, and I think that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Because I read just a sentence of it because I was like, this is kind of ridiculous. But they serve only vegan food, and the strippers allegedly are all either vegetarian or vegan, and I found that to be hilarious. What if that is a condition of employment? Yo, you dance real nice, girl, but do you eat meat?
And some comes, oh, you look too thick. You must be drinking milk.
Right, yeah. No, if it ain't almond, you ain't in here. So be gone, ya. Hey. But all right, hey, you want to wrap it up while I put this little coronavirus song in the background?
Hey, play us out.
Hey. Yeah, they brought the Rowdy Rich stuff out here too. All right, everybody, thank you for joining in on the Horn of Plenty podcast. We bid you adieu, and please be safe and stay home. Peace.